the Pimax Crystal Super, the headset that made me fall in love with VR again. Let's chat about it. What's going on, Flight Crew? It's your boy Leo. Today we're taking a look at something I've been incredibly excited to finally get my hands on. The Pimax Crystal Super with the 57 ppd optical engine. Now if you've been following the channel, you probably know that I had a chance to try this headset during FS Expo at the Pimax. That quick demo was enough to get my attention. But let's be honest, trying a headset on a noisy expo floor for 10 or 15 minutes is one thing. Using it for hours on your own simulator, with your own PC, your own controls, and your own settings, that's where you really find out if the headset lives up to the hype. Which is why I've partnered with Pimax, and they were kind enough to send us our own Crystal Super to check out. Huge shout out to Pimax for that. So today I'm going to talk with you through about my experience after spending some real time flying with it, what impressed me, where I think it shines, and whether I think it's worth considering if you want next level immersion. Now before we get too deep into it, I think it's important to give you a little context. I'm definitely not new to VR. For years I flew exclusively with the HP Reverb G2, and honestly, I absolutely loved the headset. The image quality was fantastic for its time, and it completely changed how I experienced flight simulation. Unfortunately though, as many of you already know, Microsoft's decision to discontinue Windows Mixed Reality effectively killed support for the Reverb G2 and newer versions of Windows. That meant it was finally time to move on. One thing I never loved about the Reverb G2 wasn't actually the headset, it was Windows Mixed Reality itself. Getting everything running wasn't always smooth, especially when creating content for YouTube. There always seemed to be one more layer of software between me and actually flying. Which brings me to the Crystal Super. I have to say, the setup process genuinely surprised me. The latest version of Pimax Play has come a long way. Installation was straightforward, the software recognized the headset almost immediately, the room setup was simple, firmware updates were painless, and within just a few minutes, I was sitting inside the cockpit. No fighting with Windows Mixed Reality, no jumping through extra hoops, it just worked. For anyone making content or simply wanting to spend more time flying than troubleshooting, that's a huge improvement. Now let's talk about what makes the Crystal Super so special. The version I'm using features the 57 pixels per degree optical engine, which is currently one of the sharpest VR experiences available for consumer flight simulation. Some of the highlights include dual high-resolution QLED displays, mini LED local dimming for excellent contrast and deeper blacks, approximately 57 pixels per degree for incredible image clarity, glass aspheric lenses designed to reduce distortion and maximize edge-to-edge sharpness, integrated eye tracking, automatic IPD adjustment, DisplayPort connection for uncompressed PC VR image quality. For flight simulation, that resolution matters. Being able to clearly read glass cockpit displays, FMS pages, GPS screens, and distant terrain without constantly leaning forward makes a huge difference. Now let's talk about what actually matters. What is it like to fly? The first time I put on the Crystal Super, I honestly got goosebumps. Now that may seem dramatic, but that's exactly how it felt. The level of immersion is absolutely ridiculous. The moment the cockpit appears around you, the first thing you'll notice is it's a lot smaller than a 2D monitor, and your brain immediately believes you're sitting inside the aircraft. Looking over your shoulder during the base to final turn, leaning forward to inspect instruments, looking out across the wing during the sunset, watching airports come alive beneath you. It's difficult to explain unless you've experienced it. If you don't have the room or the budget to build a full physical cockpit, VR is the closest thing you'll get. I'd honestly put the immersion level at about 1000%. Now compared to my old Reverb G2, the first thing I noticed was the clarity. The gauges are incredibly sharp, the text is easier to read, the sweet spot is much larger, scanning instruments feels much more natural. I also found myself spending less time moving my head around just to keep things in focus. Another thing I noticed was the depth perception. This one is huge and also one of the single biggest things we lack when flying on a 2D monitor. Taxiing, landing, and judging flare height, everything feels more natural when your eyes can perceive the world in 3 dimensions. And let's not even get started on how this will massively improve your helicopter game. It's one of those upgrades that is hard to appreciate until you go back to flying on a monitor. Once you experience VR like this, it's honestly difficult to return. Now, of course, driving this level of image quality isn't free. The Crystal Super is a premium headset and it deserves a powerful PC. You're pushing an incredible amount of resolution, so your graphics card absolutely matters. I myself am running a 4090 paired with a 13900K. The good news though is that Pimax gives you plenty of options inside the Pimax Play software for adjusting render resolution and finding the right balance between image quality and performance. With some slight tuning, I was able to find settings that look fantastic while still delivering a very enjoyable experience for Microsoft Flight Simulator. And before we wrap things up, I do want to re-mention that Pimax has partnered with the channel and sent us this Crystal Super to play with. As always, that does not change my opinion. Everything you've heard today comes from my own experience after using the headset on my own simulator. So if you're interested in picking one up, be sure to check my link down in the description. And don't forget to use my discount code. Using that code helps you save a little bit of money, and it also helps support the channel so we can continue to bring you more flight simulation content like this. So, what's my final verdict? For me, the Pimax Crystal Super has completely reignited my excitement for VR simulation. Coming from the HP Reverb G2, this feels like a major step forward. The clarity, the immersion, the software experience, everything combines into what easily has become my favorite way to fly. So if you've been waiting for an excuse to jump into VR, or you've been looking for an upgrade from an older headset, the Crystal Super absolutely deserves a serious look. So if you have enjoyed today's review, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and let me know down in the comments what aircraft you think I should fly next using the Crystal Super. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you on the next one. Your boy Leo is signing out. See ya.